Hi, I'm John, and welcome to JPsCreations Expert Advanced Tutorial for printed minifigures. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make minifigures that have a wooden core that are also laminated to protect the art, and how to then laser cut those out of sheets. For reference, these are the minifigures that have the wooden cores that we'll be making today. And this is what the whole page looks like in its bag for storage. In my advanced tutorial for them, for printed minifigures, I showed you how to make laminated paper minifigures that are double-sided, which is what this set is. This is the same exact set as the wooden minifigure set, and those two both have the same number of figures to show exactly how much more space the wooden ones take up. However, that said, both of them with the laminate allow for the use of both dry and wet erase markers to identify the figures. For instance, this figure, I added a health potion floating inside of the water weird using both of the markers there. Whereas this figure, I used the dry erase to remove the figure's one leg so that he is a single-legged monk. We call him Hobbles. He hates it. It's good stuff. Without further ado, here's how that process is done from start to finish to completely manufacture these minifigures. The first thing that you'll need to make any wood core minifigures is wood. I'm going to be using Baltic birch plywood that is 3 millimeters thick, or about 1/8 of an inch. It's a little bit less, but it's close there. I start off with a 5 foot by 5 foot sheet from the lumber store, and I run that through the table saw to cut it into panels that are 1 foot wide. And then I take those and I run them through the chop saw to chop them into pieces that are 8.5 inches wide, which is about like so. And once those are all cut into pieces, I have a whole stack of them, which I will take inside and throw in the laser to cut to the exact size so that they're very precise. Now I'm over at the laser where I have all of those pieces that I just cut, and I will be loading them in so that I can trim them to their exact size.
The cutting process is pretty slow. 8 millimeters per second is the speed that the head is traveling at here. To make it go by a little bit faster, I'm going to put it into a time lapse. Gotta go in 10 times faster so we can get all the way through this. Love those little flare-ups it makes. Once the file's finished, I shut off all of the fans for the air assist and exhaust. Then grab the pieces out of the laser. The outside piece is trash, and it's gone. This piece is the exact size of the printed border on the printed page. Speaking of the printed page, let's print that. They're printed single-sided on 2 separate pages that are then going to be put back to back. The pages are made using the same style I showed in the advanced double-sided tutorial. So go check that out with the link down in the description. Putting them back to back, they are ready to put inside of the thermal laminating pouch. These pouches use a glue on the inside of the pages that's very similar to a hot glue gun. All of the research that I've done so far, the thermal laminated pouches, the plastics used in them, are safe for laser cutting. When it's hot, send it through the laminator, possibly with protective pouches, possibly not. Then I cut open the pouch, and because the glue is only on the display surface, the two pieces of paper will come apart. And I will cut them out completely, and then I'll take them over to the laser to cut them by that thin registry line that goes around the entire artwork. But first, I have to adjust the bed. So I remove my changeable bed to the standard one so I can cut the paper, and then I align the page. I start by marking it in the corner, and I position the page so that the corner is directly under the origin. And then, once I have that set correctly, I will fly the head to a different position, whether along the horizontal or the vertical axis, and fire the laser to test exactly where it is. Unfortunately, I put it too far down so that the dot isn't visible on the camera, but that's what I'm doing here. And also weighting down the bottom of the page so it doesn't curl, lift, and possibly get sucked through my exhaust port. Now I'm holding the top corner where I did the initial dot and rotating to pull that registry line into alignment with the actual axis of the laser cutter. And once it is, I go through and I drag the laser in the direction with the controls and push the pulse button, creating a little vector engrave that I can then see to know exactly where I am. Once all that is set, I run the program, which is just a rectangle. So it's a little bit faster, and I don't have any time dilation, so this is all in real time of it cutting right here. Once that's all done, I collect all the pages and some tape along with all of the wood cores. And I use the tape to hold the pages in the right alignment on the core so that when I spray on the adhesive, I can just fold them, which you'll see in the next step. So the important thing here is to align it perfectly in this step. This is the moment where you can save a piece or lose it completely. Also, in this clip here, I'm using short little segments of tape, also on the short edge of the piece. I have recently learned that it's actually a lot better to do the long edge and tape all the way along that edge. Then, on a surface that you either have protected or that you just don't care about, lay out the piece and apply spray adhesive. You can use whatever spray adhesive of your choice. Follow the directions on the can. For this one, it is recommended to let it tack up for a few seconds, which I do, and if it were taped better, it wouldn't require as much careful setting of the page there. After it's set, I wipe my hands off on my jeans to make sure I don't have glue on my hands, and then spread out the page. Turns out with the lamination, getting a little bit of glue on the page is less of a big deal. If you don't have the lamination, it is extremely a big deal, and it will leave dirty spots on your minis, whereas with the lamination, a mixture of water with a little bit of cleaning alcohol will remove the residue or overspray from the spray adhesive really well. It also works to remove old markers in my findings, but you may find differently. Let me know down in the comments. Next, I need to apply pressure, and I will be using something that I literally paid hundreds of dollars for. Very, very expensive and precise pieces of equipment. Yep, old textbooks. They work quite well for applying pressure over the entire area for the pages. Plus, if I had to pay an arm and a leg for the damn thing, I'm gonna get my use out of it.
Since we have a little bit of time, while the pages are under pressure for that glue to set, this is a great time for me to ask you for money. I mean, only if you happen to want pages of minifigures that are either rigid wood core figures or flexible paper core minifigures, both laminated for protection. I am able to manufacture those with the printable heroes art, and I can make those and sell them to you. Check out JPsCreations.com to go buy yours now if you're too lazy to make your own.
With the commercial break, I mean drying time done, we can go ahead and throw this into the laser. Now, I will be running it from along the horizontal and vertical axes again to make sure that it's in the right spot. Once I verify that, I exit out, sending it to its origin, and then start it cutting. This is it cutting at its normal, actual, real-life speed at 6 millimeters per second. Pretty damn slow. So to pass the time, I'm going to be sharing some photos with you, which are Creative Commons open photos that I've saved, and we'll be using this type of crafting technique with to build some shadow boxes that have depth of the photos, and then also some flowers, because I think some everlasting bouquets of printed wooden flowers like this would be pretty awesome. And I know a few people who love horses, so I might do something with those. But these landscapes, with these multiple different levels, I can slice each one and set the layers back, giving them depth. So I could make some that have some amazing eye pop. But that will be in another episode, so make sure to subscribe. And it looks like the laser's finishing up.
Can't let you leave without showing you what those look like when they're finished. They come out and they're still held inside of the support frame due to tiny little spots around it where I use a dot function on the laser to leave small tabs, and the pieces can be just pushed out of the frame by shearing the tiny little tabs that are around them to keep them in the frame, mainly because this is a lot easier to ship than this. I chose this page specifically because it illustrates the problem with doing wood core minis. Is there's a lot of chances for failure and this one is what I would consider a failure. It looks alright for the most part, except a couple of the minifigures have some of the art that goes outside of the cut line. And for me, that is my personal standards bar, is all of the art has to be inside of the frame.
The root cause of the failure shown happened right here, where I ended up sticking the page in the wrong place. And once it stuck, so I committed and just stuck it down. Turns out the easiest solution is to tape along this entire long edge, as I did with this piece here. And if you're curious about these pieces, make sure to hit subscribe for the future episode where I will be showing off how to make some of these wooden core minifigure map tiles, which are very similar to the method that we used to create these. Actually pretty much identical. So